All right, and we are live now. We are live. Thank you again very much. Thank you for the patience. Again, I do think I took care of the problem with the audio loop, so my apologies on that. Here, I'll just put audio slash mic check. I think we're all good. I do think I got the problems resolved. But nevertheless, let's get back into the video on what it is we're going to be talking about. So, again, real quick disclaimer before I do get into the video, discussing everything regarding the BigBear.aiQ2 results. As a quick disclaimer, as always, nothing in today's live stream is financial advice. Everything is discussed today is based on publicly available information and is for educational and entertainment purposes. Any opinions I share are simply my own. Now, before management joins the call, let's talk what I am personally going to be watching for. And thank you again, Dorian, for confirming. And again, I'm very sorry about that in the beginning. Yeah, just a little bit of audio difficulties. I don't know where that audio loop was coming from, but I got it resolved, so no worries. So, real quick, we all know about the quarters that is coming up today, and analysts have expectations. And after doing a quick search, you can just quickly see the estimates for earnings per share and for revenue and what it is we want to see. Because the revenue estimate is expected to come in at $36.4 million, and earnings per share is supposed to come in at a narrow loss of just -4 cents, a loss of 4 cents. Now, right now, even though that margins matter, EPS matters, cash flow and revenue, they all matter. If you have been following the channel, you know that I've been making recent videos. And again, you can feel free to check that out in the channel if you'd like. Specifically, what I was talking about and what I was covering in those videos was mainly talking about partnerships, some more recent than others. And I also was talking about BigBear AI and their actual business and the products that the company offers. So the main thing that this quarterly report is going to be answering is, or the question that I want answered is, are we finally going to start seeing the evidence that the investments that the company has been making start to actually translate into actual business results, and it starts to look good in the financials in this upcoming quarter? Now, right now, BigBear AI currently trading at $2.92, and let's take a quick look at Thinkorswim. So yeah, right now it is looking a bit positive. How much up is that? So we're up 3% in the after hours session. We had a gain of almost 10% on the day, and we're currently up 3% in the after hours session, which is good. So, anyways, a few things that I'm going to be watching before I leave it open to what it is you guys are going to be looking out for in this earnings call is, first off, I'm going to be obviously paying attention to revenue trends. I'm going to be looking for the trends regarding gross margins. And I want to hear what it is regarding the discussion between government services versus software, because the recent improvement in gross margins that we saw in Q1 of 2026 was due to the recent pivot that to software, platforms, and generative AI. And that is what recently led to the improvements in gross margins, and it was largely driven by the Ask Sage acquisition. A few other things I'm going to be looking for is, what is the cash position? Going to be paying attention to the operating expenses, any updates regarding their backlogs, and of course, is there going to be any more momentum, or does it look like there's going to be any more momentum leading to contracts? And also, I don't know if this is the most important, but a key thing, I just want to hear confidence from management. I do not want to see management lower for guidance or make any adjustments or sound negative. I want them to say positive, because as you know, recently they reaffirmed their forward guidance for the fiscal year of 2026. And if we take a look as to what that is, what was the annual revenue that they said reaffirmed 2026 guidance. Again, because revenue is expected to come in between $135 to $165 million. So again, while we're waiting just for a few minutes, I don't believe the earnings report came out just yet. I'm going to be waiting. I'm going to be waiting for the company news. I'm going to be on the lookout, and we're just going to look for any crazy types of volatility. So Yeah, we know that's coming up, but what exactly would you guys be looking for right now as we're waiting for the earnings call to come out? As we're waiting for the earnings report to come out, and then anxiously waiting to see what's going to be happening in the earnings call. I just want to hear y'all's opinions while we're waiting. So let's see. And not a surprise that we're seeing some type of volatility right now in the after hour session. Pretty typical. What's going on, Dorian? And it's kind of a little bit of a bummer too that we had to restart the live stream because the chat was looking a lot better than it is right now. And again, shout out to you, Dorian, for staying in and for confirming that for me. But man, that was just a little bit of a bummer. No big deal though. So let's see here. The report is going to come out in just a few minutes. I'm just going to keep refreshing here. Let's actually go to the website because they're going to have it out in a second. It's going to be coming out in just a few minutes. Usually when it says that it's going to be reported after hours, it's typically between like 4:10, 4:15. So it should be out any minute from now. So I'm just going to keep refreshing. The earnings call is going to be happening at 4:30. The earnings call I know is going to be happening at 4:30, but is it actually confirmed that the actual report will be coming out at 4:30 as well? Because sometimes when it has the earnings call at 4:30, usually they release the financial results either a few minutes, somewhere between like 10 to 15 minutes beforehand, in my experience when I've been seeing. So, yeah. And I'm happy to have you all on the live stream, by the way, guys. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much. We're currently sitting strong towards the upper end of today's range. We opened the day at $2.65, and we did close the day at We closed the day. We closed the day at $2.83, and right now we're holding at the upper range of the bullish intraday trading session that we did have. So there's not much that I got to cover right now. While we're still waiting. Again, I'm mainly just interested to hear the tonality from management. Obviously, first off, we got to see if they actually do have a beat on earnings. And thank you very much, Club, for joining. I appreciate you, man. At Club. I appreciate it. I would like to hear Kevin McAllen talk about okay. Yeah. Obviously, we're going to hear them talk about that. And I think I did mention that's one of the things I want to be paying attention to. And overall, really, I just want to hear, because as we know, Kevin, he's not necessarily charismatic, and he's actually pretty behind the scenes and he doesn't talk too much. That's actually one of the points of frustrations regarding Kevin, is that they feel like he doesn't say enough. He doesn't communicate with investors enough. But I am interested to see on any developments he can give up publicly, because obviously there's lots of classified information that he's not allowed to share. So I'm interested to see what publicly available information he can give to us regarding deals, contracts, just anything regarding that. And again, the main thing is I just don't want them to readjust their forward-looking guidance in a negative way. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you very much. So, okay. So it looks like the report probably came out now. And I'm going to make the assumption that it was a negative report. So let's see what happened. Let's see what happened. Let me refresh. Let's see. No, not yet. Let's see. Did it come out yet? Nope. Still haven't seen anything yet. So let me see. I'm assuming the report came out, but I'm just going to keep refreshing and then we'll see when it pops up. Let's see. Oh, here we go. All right. So it does appear. Yeah, so let me see. Hold on. All right. So let's see what we got here. So they did just release their quarterly earnings report. And yeah, so So real quick, again, I'm not going to tell anyone whether to buy or sell, Dorian. So if you want to buy, that's on you. And again, you do what you want with your capital. But again, very volatile price action to the downside right now. The market is reacting negatively, but let's go through the report right now. So there's a few things I said I wanted to go over. So first off, it delivers 13% growth, 20 plus new contract wins, and expanded margins. And it affirms full year revenue guidance. So let's see. It delivered. Okay, so they did meet the mark. So they did meet the mark. Their revenues at 36.7 million. I was wanting to say at least 37 million, but in my opinion, that's close enough. They did meet expectations, and it also says that they expanded Q2 gross margins by 781 basis points from 25% to 32.8% year over year. So I do like to see that. And hey, I also did say I wanted to see any more news regarding their backlog. So it increased 9% to $269.6 million. And if you remember in Q1 of fiscal year 2026, people were happy with the record backlog that it had. And the fact that they were able to increase it is still positive. Yeah. So 37 was close. Yeah, it was a good call. I was pretty close, Dorian, wasn't I? And again, their total available cash and investments of $409.8 million. Okay. And yeah, they're affirming their full year 2026 revenue guidance of 135 to 165 million. So right now, what my own interpretation of this, before we get into the earnings call, I wouldn't necessarily say that they aced the earnings report. It's not like they aced it and it was like crazy. It wasn't something like crazy where they got, like $40 million plus. They did meet expectations and they did hit the mark. They just didn't like surpass it like crazy. So this is good. In my opinion, it does show that the company is still on track. And the fact that they did not slow down, or they did not try to hinder what the full year guidance was that they reaffirmed earlier in the year of the revenue between $135 to $165 million. Since it's still there, I do like the fact that they're still on track. Not an ace, but I'm not even going to give it a grayscale. I'm just saying it's not an ace, but they met expectations. But unfortunately, they didn't go crazy with it. So, and right now, yeah, so I'm not sure exactly. Yeah, because it's not like last year where they had a bad miss on earnings. They didn't really miss earnings like crazy. Well, they didn't miss earnings at all. They met expectations. But the only thing about it is, again, it's just, I guess the standards for what people have for BigBear AI is higher than what they would like. So, yeah, I mean, it's an okay quarterly. It's not bad. It still shows that the business is still in progress. What do you guys think in the live chat? What do you guys think overall about the report and the headlines right now? Yeah, they met expectations. Yeah, and EPS was at -5 cents, by the way, as well. So again, they met expectations. Yeah, let's just go through this report a little bit more. So yeah, financial highlights. Let's see here. Revenue increased. And again, we're still going to be in the call in a few minutes. The call will be happening at 4:30 in about 10 minutes. So yeah, let's see here. Yeah, facts. That's what I'm saying. Like, they met the expectations and the business is still on track, but it's just not a crazy beat to where it reacts in a hyper bullish manner, club. That's all. That's the only thing about it. So let me make sure. I don't want no copyright music. Hold on. Don't want that copyright music. No. I have my audio muted on my end because I don't want there to be any echo. Yeah, I don't want there to be any echo. So yeah, I just don't want that. Over 20 new deals. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Dorian. Like, with the financial highlights and the headlines that they have right in the PDF that in the PDF that I'm showing you. Again, 20 plus new contract wins, like they're saying, and the fact that they reaffirmed guidance, revenue is still growing, and gross margins are still expanding. Again, the business is still on track, But right now, from a price action perspective, I guess it's reacting negatively because even though they're meeting the expectations that the market did set, that doesn't necessarily mean that in a price action perspective, it's also going to react bullish. Again, there's lots of context, lots of nuance, lots of factors, lots of variation. It's not necessarily set in stone that if a good quarterly is what comes out, it's also going to react in a bullish way as well from a price action perspective. That's the thing. I'm kind of stuttering where I speak right now. Yeah, so yeah, anyways, I'm just going to do a little bit of reading through this. Yeah, and again, thank you all for being in the live stream. I can't wait to actually hear what are the results for the not the results, but the tonality that management gives out during the earnings release. So let's see. Gross margin was 32.8% in the second quarter of fiscal year 2026 compared to 25 in second quarter of 2025 due to increased volume from the Ask Sage's higher margin Gen AI platforms and products. Yeah, so I was telling you about this right before we started and before the earnings release actually came out. Again, the improvements in the gross margin mainly came from the acquisition, the recent acquisition from Ask Sage. So I like how they're putting that in the highlights. Revenue in the first quarter, Alicia. BigBear.aiQ2 revenue. To answer that question, the revenue was $34.4 million in fiscal year of 2026 for the first quarter. Yeah, thank you, Doran. Actually, no. Just a little bit off the ball, Doran. It was 34.4 million, but you were close, bro. What exactly? Just curious, Club. What do you mean? What exactly do you think is going to start to bring people back slowly? Are you saying the fact that the expansion in gross margins, the actual lower price action, the fact that they actually met expectations and the business is still growing? I'm just curious, Club. What exactly do you mean is going to start? What specifically is going to be bringing fewer people back slowly and steadily into BigBear AI? Because again, there's still lots of people that are very anxious when it comes to the stock and the company overall. So, yeah. What specific? Yeah, so that's the thing. What I do like about... So first off, we had two back-to-back quarterly reports that they met expectation. Like, I think Q1 was a slight beat, and then right now we're meeting expectations. So the thing about it is, BigBear AI and the overall sentiment when it comes to the stock, lots of people view this company as a wild card. And, not just is the price action fluctuating like crazy, also the underlying business is fluctuating. The fact that they're sticking to the plan, and with all the topics that I discussed in the previous two videos I made regarding BigBear AI about the products that they have, like Cargo Seer and many others. Specifically, I'm talking about in this video right here. Check out that video if you want to. And then also I was discussing with their partnerships, some more recent than others. So the fact that the financial highlights that we're seeing here, specifically how they're talking, the highlights regarding revenue, regarding gross margin, and how they're highlighting how the recent transition from government services to software, Gen AI platforms and products is mainly due to the Ask Sage acquisition that happened recently at the end of fiscal year 2025. I do like how they're putting out those specific highlights and really emphasizing the fact that even though they didn't necessarily ace it like crazy and had a crazy beat, they're still sticking to the plan, and management confidently is stating that they're still affirming their full year guidance for 2026 to stay within that range of 135 to 165 million. Thank you, Alicia. And yeah, RJ, I do agree we do need some beats, but for right now, I will take the fact that they did meet expectations. And for those of you that are swing trading and are short-term traders for BigBear AI, it may be frustrating somewhat to the fact that even though even though we're not getting that bullish, that hyper bullish type of price action that you might want to see. Nevertheless, for long-term investors, this is a positive outlook to have. The fact that they're sticking to the plan, the underlying business is still improving, their gross margins are improving, revenue is increasing, backlog is increasing, and just overall, there's lots of data points for the company to show that this is not necessarily just a wild card company that lots of people think of. Good evening. Welcome, Selena. Welcome, Selena. And again, welcome, RJ. Like I said, I do agree that the company does need some beats. So I've asked a few people. Dorian and Club have given lots of their opinions in the chat. Anybody else have any opinions? We still got 3 minutes before the earnings call takes place and before we are listening to management and what it is they have to say. Also, again, if there's any issues with echoing, please let me know. I do not want that to be an issue whatsoever. Okay. Let me see. Oh, nope. Don't want that. Do not want that. Yeah, I can't. Even though I like the little elevator music or the classical music that they put in these earnings calls while you're waiting, I got to be careful for copyright reasons. So I just don't want that to be the case. Yeah, I do not want that to be the case whatsoever. Ask Sage is one of the few AI platforms certified. Dorian, you're going crazy in the chat, man. Okay. Well, Club, hey, anyways, thank you for tuning in. And if you want to take a look into what was said in the earnings call, again, my live stream will stay up. So feel free to just come back anytime that you're available to watch, to hear what management said. Yeah, and Dorian, you're going crazy in the chat, man. So AskSage is one of the few AI platforms certified for use across top secret IL5 and IL6 environments. And because of those clearances, it's basically operates in a space with no real competition. Okay. Very interesting. I'll take an even deeper dive look into that for you, Dorian. And yeah, so again, I do think that the AskSage acquisition is showing like it's starting to pay off. And I'm very interested due to the fact with the expansions and the increases in gross margin. I just want to know how beneficial that acquisition is going to be for the company, not just this quarter, but in the next 3 to 4 quarters. 2, 3, or 4 quarters, I'm very interested to see. See you later, Club. So yeah. So Alicia, right now we're gonna be listening to the earnings call. They reaffirmed their fiscal year guidance for the year 2026, and they confirmed that they're sticking on track to having 135 to 165 millions in revenue for the year. But right now we're gonna be listening into the earnings call from BigBear AI and management, including, and I'm assuming because he always does, the CEO Kevin McAleenan will also be speaking during the earnings call. So we're just waiting a few seconds and then it's going to be coming up. Just want to have this little price chart right there. So, oh. There we go. Here we go, guys. Can't have that copyright music out on there. Are they gonna speak? Let me make sure. Shit. Hopefully not. I'm really trying to be careful with the background music. I'm being very careful with just issues with copyright. My goodness. Let me refresh it. Hold on.
Earnings call and webcast.
There we go.
At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. A question-and-answer session will follow the formal presentation. As a reminder, this conference is being recorded. It is now my pleasure to introduce your host, Sean Ricker, Chief Financial Officer. Thank you. You may begin.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us today for our second quarter 2026 earnings call. I'm Sean Ricker, CFO of BigBear.AI, and I'm joined today by our CEO, Kevin McAleenan. Statements made in today's call that are not historical fact are considered forward-looking statements and are made pursuant to the safe harbor provisions of the federal securities laws. Actual results may differ materially from those projected in the forward-looking statements. Please see today's press release and our SEC filings for a description of some of the factors that may cause actual results to differ materially from those in the forward-looking statements. We also have posted tables on our website today that we plan to address during the call to supplement our comments. These tables also include information regarding non-GAAP measures that may be used in today's call. Please access our website at www.BigBear.ai and click on the Investor Relations link to view and follow the charts. Now I'll hand it over to Kevin.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Sean. I'm pleased to report to our investors that BigBear.ai had a strong quarter. First, revenue for the second quarter of 2026 exceeded revenue for the same period in 2025 by 13%, and our gross margin improved by 781 basis points. We are on track to meet our top-line guidance in the range of $135 million to $165 million, and as a leadership team, we are fully focused on following through, hitting our targets, and continuing to earn investor trust. Second, we continue to win new contracts with both existing and new customers in the U.S. and abroad. I'm happy to share that we won more than 20 new contracts with customers in quarter two, with values ranging up to $5 million each. For confidentiality reasons, we can't share the details of many of them, but I'll touch on a few. This follows our announcement in Q1 of a longer-term contract with an intelligence customer with a total contract value of $53 million. Each win proves that customers want specialized AI for complex use cases in secure environments that very few companies have the operational insight to deliver. Customers see that we are focused on the right problems and have the capability to help solve them. As a result, our backlog has grown by 9% since year-end, and the pipeline continues to be healthy. And third, thanks to a clear strategy and focused use of our development resources, we have deployed product enhancements and capabilities that are fundamentally changing operators' ability to drive mission performance across a range of use cases, from cargo inspection to generative AI to drone swarm orchestration. I'll describe some of these examples shortly. These three facts, that BigBear.ai is on track to forecast, realizing strong customer wins in multiple categories, and generating traction for product innovation, strengthen my confidence that we are building momentum as a company. We have laid excellent financial foundations, focused our talent on a disciplined strategy, and global market trends are in our favor. If I step back and consider what we thought would be true now when we began resetting BigBear in early 2025, our key underlying assumptions are playing out. Government and business leaders globally are confronted by great power competition and rolling regional conflicts. BigBear.ai was prepared for this shift thanks to our long-standing work for national security customers and our development of technologies targeted to meet new operational needs. This is the core of our expertise and customer trust. Our roots are deep in mission environments, supporting both domestic and international security. The trend line for increased investment in and focus on enhanced defense and security technologies is set, both in the U.S. and among our allies. AI and alternative technologies are fundamental to the reimagined global battlefield and emerging military strategy. And commercial entities, especially those engaged in securing and facilitating trade and travel, urgently need advanced applied AI technologies, particularly for supply chain security. Domestic threat landscapes are far more dynamic as well. Counterterrorism professionals must sprint to stay ahead of threat actors who have access to powerful technologies at low cost. These asymmetric threats make BigBear.ai's technologies and experience ever more relevant to our core customers and of interest to new customers who would not previously have considered security as their priority. Critical infrastructure must be protected. We predicted many of these changes when I led the Department of Homeland Security. Many of the threats we face now, including drone swarms and the potential for autonomous attacks on public events, as well as AI-enabled cyber threats, were detailed in the DHS 2019 Strategic Framework for Countering Terrorism and Targeted Violence and have become very real today. Additionally, the global travel and tourism industry is projected to reach an all-time high in 2026, accounting for 9.9% of global GDP, which represents 3.2% growth. In global trade, structural changes have led to increased investment in technology by companies and countries who must adapt to far more complex regulatory regimes. Compounding shocks and the challenges of capacity and security have all driven broad reprioritization towards solving long-standing border management challenges with new technologies, including redesigning immigration systems. These issues sit at the heart of political agendas in both the developed and developing world. BigBear.AI builds and deploys technology to address each of these macro themes, which often converge. Capital in the private as well as public markets is increasingly invested in businesses with the experience to build, acquire, and deploy defense and security technologies that will fundamentally change the world we live in, making nations stronger, safer, and more prosperous. That's why, as we enter the second half of 2026, we are increasing our pace to meet these opportunities. My full focus is on two objectives: delivering top-line revenue growth and accelerating our hunt for accretive M&A targets that offer catalytic technologies with clear potential for rapid deployment at scale. I'm confident that we can do this because, as you will see from the examples that follow, we have now fully integrated both acquisitions we executed in the last 6 months, AskSage and CargoSeer. These teams are now very much part of the day-to-day of the business and are performing well. While we will be deliberate about deploying our available cash reserves to acquire new targets, given the dynamic opportunities in very large addressable markets we are focused on, we believe this is time to be aggressive. The BigBear.AI leadership team is ambitious and driving forward. My confidence in our ability to move fast rests on the simple fact that most companies today are searching to find their place in a world being redesigned by AI. BigBear.AI does not face that problem. Applied AI is at the very core of our value proposition and growth strategy, and the operators we serve understand and are hungry to use AI where their use cases are real and urgent. To bring this to life, let me move now to 3 operational use cases for our technology. Each represents a recent enhancement and is underpinned by an example of business that we have won with an active customer. The first is illustrated by a significant win in the last week for CargoSeer in El Salvador. We signed a 5-year commercial deployment agreement with a strategic regional customs expert following a successful 12-month pilot. This is the first deployment of CargoSeer in Central America, bringing cargo X-ray imagery, import and export documents, and structured trade data into a single workflow. It helps El Salvador customs officials detect contraband, collect the correct duties, and keep legitimate trade moving. Let's now look at the general application for CargoSeer. The operational challenges facing customs officers all over the world, including the increasing tension between growing trade volumes and increasing smuggling threats, are substantial. The customs officer inspecting a shipment must evaluate rapidly, assessing an X-ray image, a customs declaration, and other trade data to judge whether the cargo is legitimate, often with little more than a pen, a clipboard, and pages of manifest data. An anomaly may signal a concealed contraband, a misclassified commodity, or a trafficked human being, while legitimate shipments need to keep moving. The stakes are high. An error can cost the country significant revenue, put lives at risk through drug or human trafficking, or choke legitimate trade. That is the visibility, speed, and volume problem that CargoSeer solves. Just as a doctor reads an X-ray alongside patient history to diagnose, CargoSeer analyzes the cargo scan alongside the entire data package, powered by AI and driven by computer vision. The automated image analysis tool compares the image against the declaration and trade data and flags anomalies with the speed and explainability the officer needs to complete an inspection. Why is this so valuable and why does it scale? Global merchandise trade runs roughly $26 trillion per year. As a former port director early in my career at LAX, I can attest that it is a major operational challenge to balance protecting national security, collecting revenue, and keeping legitimate trade moving with downward pressure on costs and staff. This is true in every port of entry and border crossing in the world, thousands of them, each facing overwhelming volume with limited staff and resources. CargoSeer is configured to each country's own data and the officer's inspection workflow, and its models can be updated as trade patterns and risks change. The technologies we are deploying in El Salvador are garnering interest from customs agencies around the world seeking to refine their operating models. The second product enhancement and use case is generative AI in disconnected environments. Last quarter, I shared that NASA is now a customer of our generative AI platform, Ask Sage. One of the wins we're particularly proud of in Q2 is with Naval Air Systems Command, NAVAIR, which provides full lifecycle support for all aircraft, weapons, and airborne systems used by the U.S. Navy and Marine Corps. I cannot detail the specific application of our technology, but its rapid software deployment and agentic coding capabilities are part of the use case. For customers who use our core cloud platform, 2 weeks ago we expanded our offering for the entire Department of War and customers in other departments, including new air-gapped local hardware for deployments up to the top secret level. This is a big step forward for the operator. Let me explain. Imagine an intelligence analyst in a secure facility comparing reports, searching mission data, and preparing an assessment for a commander. The information cannot leave that environment, and sometimes internet connection is removed by design. The analyst still needs the latest AI tools to organize and evaluate data, but generative AI models are typically accessed through the cloud. When an external network is unavailable or prohibited, that access disappears. Our new local device, announced 2 weeks ago, changes that. About the size of a hardcover book and highly portable, it brings the core capabilities of BigBear.ai's platform into locally connected or fully air-gapped environments that are physically isolated from all unsecured networks. It is model agnostic and multimodal. The analyst can use a range of frontier AI models and process text, images, video, and more. And when a connection is available, teams draw on the broad catalog of cloud-hosted models. When air-gapped, models hosted locally keep the platform running with no external network. This use case scales because our military and commercial customers can't afford service interruptions from patchy connectivity or security compromises. The operator uses the same BigBear generative AI platform across connected and disconnected environments, instead of adopting a separate platform for each condition. Teams retain control over where their models run, and the device can reach missions that cloud-only AI cannot serve. This expansion addresses two customer pain points, access and predictability, and directly supports the Department of War's AI acceleration strategy. We've also added a new delivery option to help customers manage the cost. Customers can buy tokens through BigBear or bring their own models and tokens if they have preferential pricing from the Frontier Labs. And they can also white label our platform. All of these features are intended to offer maximum flexibility to our customers. The third product enhancement and use case centers on offensive and defensive drone warfare. Recently, in a series of military exercises, our Conductor OS software enabled a single soldier in the field to command multiple drones from multiple vendors running different models to clear an objective against notional enemy forces in a simulated, degraded communications environment. Let's look more deeply at that use case. Today, a commander overseeing a mixed fleet of drones, sensors, and mission software from different companies must operate systems that aren't often connected and can't share data, manually moving information between them to make it relevant while piecing together a changing mission across separate interfaces. The result is that massive data volume becomes a serious cognitive burden. Conductor OS gives those systems a common way to connect and coordinate. Like a conductor leading an orchestra, it unites a mixed fleet of hardware and software through an open, vendor-neutral architecture. It lets sensors and manned and autonomous platforms from different vendors share data, model, and inferences. Its reach extends beyond drone fleets, across sensor networks, a wide array of autonomous systems, including air defense missiles and communications interfaces. But it is particularly powerful for drones, which have rapidly become integral to the modern battle space and are not yet operating autonomously across multiple manufacturers at scale. The case for scaling is clear. Soon, one operator will control large multi-vendor fleets rather than needing one operator per drone. In Ukraine, drone manufacturers have grown from 7 private companies at the start of Russia's full-scale invasion to nearly 500 today, producing millions of units a year. In the 2027 defense budget request, the United States government called for more than $70 billion for drones and counter-drone systems. It's the largest ever investment in the technology. Part of this is a $54.6 billion request for an autonomous warfare unit. Today, there are more than 400 drone companies in the U.S., and BigBear.AI is positioned to help them become operationally viable at scale. One further example beyond the drone application, at the U.S. Army's jailbreak event in Fort Carson in May, ConductorOS integrated a sensor and missile system that had never been able to communicate, showing the sensor could pass location data on an incoming target directly to the missile system for a kinetic strike. ConductorOS earned jailbroken status, meaning it had the approved interfaces and documentation needed for other systems to connect through it and operate as part of a broader interoperable network. This proves ConductorOS is on the leading edge of turning legacy system integration into a productized, repeatable capability. For operators deploying mixed fleets from multiple vendors, the need only grows as more autonomous platforms emerge. In each of these three use cases, we have advanced our technology, won new assignments, and tackled operational problems that very few companies have the experience to understand, let alone address. I'll now turn it over to Sean to go to a deeper level on our financials.
Thanks, Kevin. Let's jump into our operating results for the second quarter. Revenue for the second quarter of 2026 was $36.7 million, an increase of 13% year over year as a result of performance from GenAI platforms and products. Gross margin was 32.8% in the second quarter of 2026, an increase of 781 basis points as compared to the second quarter of 2025. The expansion in gross margins was driven by a higher mix of revenue from GenAI platforms and products versus the comparable period. Our net loss for the second quarter of 2026 was $25.7 million as compared to a net loss of $228.6 million in the comparable period. The decrease in the net loss was primarily related to non-cash fair value changes in derivatives and a non-cash goodwill impairment charge in the second quarter of 2025 that was not repeated in the second quarter of 2026. Adjusted EBITDA for the second quarter of 2026 was negative $11.6 million versus negative $8.5 million in the comparable period. The decrease in adjusted EBITDA was primarily driven by increased investment in sales and go-to-market capabilities and in research and development, both of which were partially offset by expanded gross margins, as previously mentioned. Turning to the balance sheet, our balance sheet remains strong. We finished the second quarter with total cash and investments of $410 million, which we're using to invest in new capabilities and to seek accretive M&A that can accelerate our growth strategy. We ended the second quarter with $270 million in backlog, an increase of about $22 million from where we started the year. As Kevin mentioned, we've seen contract wins across our portfolio, which reflects the dedicated focus and execution of our team in support of our customers and their missions. Before I turn it back to Kevin for closing remarks, I wanted to share an update relating to our execution rigor. In July, we passed a significant milestone. We officially achieved Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, or CMMC Level 2, well ahead of schedule. This is a rigorous U.S. federal cybersecurity standard that proves we have the advanced security controls required to protect controlled unclassified information. Achieving this means we have successfully verified our defenses against sophisticated cyber threats. The Department of War shared recently that it is reviewing the standard to lower the barrier to entry for smaller companies, but the threats that drove the CMMC Level 2 requirements are still here, and this certification is valuable to all our customers and also strengthens trust with international partners. The security practices it validates demonstrate a gold standard commitment to data privacy and infrastructure security. This is just one example of how we are, through our focus on executional rigor, maturing BigBear for future growth and expansion. Now I'll turn it back to Kevin.
Thank you, Sean. For the benefit of our new investors and as a reminder to loyal shareholders, I'll underscore that BigBear.AI is investing in our strengths as a specialized defense and security technology company delivering mission-ready AI. We are focused on two core markets that are growing, national security and trade and travel, as we've outlined, and we bring together three capabilities that make us different: deep mission understanding, an expert command of applied AI, and a unique combination of scale and agility vital for adapting and delivering as mission needs shift. Everything you heard today is evidence of that strategy in action. The Accelerate program I talked about in Q1 is working. We have a realigned structure, clear growth plans, and the resources we need to grow BigBear.AI into a powerhouse. To close, I believe that as attention moves away from legacy technology to the AI capabilities where implementation is vital, not a promise for the future, BigBear is positioned to win. We operate equally well as a new defense and security technology prime or as a partner to the traditional primes because we have deep customer trust and the size to deliver complex solutions or provide our targeted products and expertise within a larger contract. That flexibility puts us in a highly advantageous position. During what will be an extended transitional period for big, complex legacy businesses who need to pivot, BigBear is the ideal partner, as we have already proven. I look forward to updating our shareholders on our next quarterly earnings call in November. Thank you for your interest in BigBear.AI.
Thank you. This does conclude today's conference. We thank you for your participation.
All right, guys, there you have it. There you have it. We got the results today from BigBear.AI when the Q2 report came out, and we just listened to the Q2 conference call, the earnings call, and we just listened to Kevin talk a decent amount today. Now, to be clear, unfortunately, well, I don't want to say unfortunately because, again, we discuss BigBear.AI frequently from a long-term perspective. We don't really stress over too much when it comes to the short-term price action. Again, a lot of things that I wanted to hear addressed were addressed. So first off, I did mention I wanted to hear Kevin speak confidently, and I did want to hear them, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I did hear him also say how he emphasized in the headline from the headlines of the Q2 results how they affirmed their full year guidance for 2026. I did hear him say that as well. And also, two other things that I liked hearing him talk about was regarding how he highlighted the Ask Sage acquisition that happened recently, because I mentioned that one of the reasons that we've been seeing improvements in gross margin from fiscal year 2026 Q1, which was 34% in the last quarter, and this quarter it was at 32.8%, which is an increase year over year from 25% last year. What led to that was the Ask Sage acquisition that happened at the end of last year. So I liked how he highlighted that and emphasized the fact that, one, whenever a company does have any acquisitions, they always ask, what type of benefits is this acquisition going to bring to the company? So I do like how he highlighted that, and it did emphasize that, yes, Ask Sage is actually bringing benefits to BigBear.AI. And what's going on, Will? Happy to have you here. Happy to have you on the call, and I'm glad that you found the earnings call positive. But in closing, because, again, I don't want to be rambling on too much because I know I typically do that. But what are y'all's thoughts with everything you heard in the earnings call? And, okay, are you asking me or are you asking Will? Are you asking for my position and my average cost basis, or are you asking Will Rich? Just want to make sure. Because if you're asking for my average cost basis, I did say that earlier, that right now my average cost is at $3.80. But yeah, so guys, let me know in the live chat what it is you think. What key takeaways did you take from the earnings call? Did you view this positive? Did you view it as not that well? Are you more bummed out with the recent price action that we saw? Exactly what bothers you the most? Will has 5,087 cents. I didn't know that Will's cost basis was that low. Can you confirm that, Will, if your cost basis is that low for BigBear.AI? Okay, my average cost basis is pretty close to yours. I'm at $3.80. Let me double check mine. Yeah, I did like to see that. That was one of the, again, if you look at Will, he's saying net income narrowing and they're actually hitting their revenue. Yeah, so the fact that they were actually able to meet expectations, again, That's mainly what I cared about for the most part. And their earnings reports are starting to look a lot less like a wild card like we've seen, because we have seen very bad misses for BigBear.AI. But if they can stay consistent like this, the sentiment for the stock can continue to improve if they can stay consistent and stay on track the way that they have. So I do like that. Yeah. Well, I think what he's talking about, 87 cents, I think he's talking about for CTM. 87 cents for BigBear.AI would be crazy. And okay, I'm not going to tell you, well, I don't know if you're asking Will or me, but if you are asking whether to hold or not, again, I'm not a financial advisor and I can't tell you what to do with your own hard-earned capital. But me personally, the way that I interpreted it, this earnings call and the actual financial results, I personally am going to continue to hold and add anywhere that I can on any dips, which we are experiencing somewhat of a dip right now in the short term in the after hour session, currently trading at $2.75. So we are on the lower portion, especially because we recently did trade below the 52-week low. So yeah, that's pretty much that. All I got today is there. I want to make sure that I don't close out too early if anyone has questions or anything they want to say. So before I close the live stream, is there anything that you guys want to know, want to hear? Even if it's not about BigBear.AI, anything at all? I'll leave the chat open just a little bit for you guys real quick. And by the way, a little bit unrelated. So it's not about BigBear.AI itself. They reduced that, and seems the Sage deal filled the lost revenue of the Irma contracts. Oh, nice. Yeah. Again, well, speaking about Sage, again, I do think that the acquisition of Sage does appear to actually be benefiting the company. It's not just a useless acquisition. So again, Sage does appear to be doing many good things, especially from a gross margin perspective, because they've pivoted. And I mentioned this earlier in the live stream, how the pivot from government services, which typically tend to be lower margin, to more of the software, the generative AI, and the platforms. Those typically tend to be more higher margin. So I do like how he highlighted the Sage acquisition in the earnings call. And how long will I hold? So me personally, when it comes to my long-term plays, and again, this is just my opinion, I am very comfortable because I do things inside and outside of the market. I do things inside and outside of the market in the short term to cover my daily expenses and to be able to just generate more cash flow. But for my long-term investments, again, I'm a long-term bag holder as of any company that I personally hold. So as long as I continue to see my thesis stay intact, I really don't mind holding a company for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, because again, I'm already taking care of things in the short term and I let my long-term holders do their thing. So it's not necessarily a matter of how long am I willing to hold. It's more a matter of, will the thesis be broken or not? Oh, hey Will, RJ's got a question for you in the chat about Stockmates. He's saying that he's saying that the link is having a little bit of issues. So you can kind of address that either in a future video, or you can address it now in the chat. I don't really mind. Marco, or username I used to draw. You are probably one of my more funnier subscribers. You say some of the funniest things in all of my videos, and I really do appreciate the ongoing support that I get from you. So continue to tune in, and I'll continue to give you the best type of content that I can give you, my friend. So, yeah. Anyways, guys, this was actually a very successful live stream. There's a period that you guys did enjoy it. So I'm going to close it out here. And let me know in the comment sections what you want to see in future upcoming videos. And let me know exactly how much you guys enjoyed the live stream. And if you do enjoy the content and you're not yet subscribed to InvestQ, feel free to hit the like and subscribe button and comment below what you want to see in future upcoming videos. But with that being said, guys, stay safe. David over here at InvestQ out, and I'll see you on the next video.